Good. Jose Young's here with MMA Fighting, sitting with Michael Bisping in Milwaukee.
Yes.
The last ever UFC on Fox card. That's obviously the big story. You fought on the second Fox card. You've headlined a lot of Fox Sports 1's cards. You coached against Mayhem Miller it was on FX, I believe.
Spike.
Spike. Was that Spike? I thought that was the FX one. And I thought the Henderson one was the Spike one.
Henderson one was Spike. Miller. Yeah, I don't know.
So regardless, you've had a lot of history with Fox. You're a commentator now, or you're an analyst now. What is the Fox era in your mind, and where's it going to live on in the UFC?
You know, it's really sad. Do you want me to hold that?
Sure.
Yeah. You know, it's the end of an era. I remember when the UFC signed with Fox, everyone was very excited. This was a huge thing. The UFC finally becoming mainstream, you know, and it certainly helped. You know, the sport has grown massively since 2011. And, you know, I mean, it is what it is. It's business at the end of the day, and I understand that. I'm sure everyone understands that. ESPN will be a great home for the UFC, much like Fox was. Fox were fantastic. They were thoroughly behind the brand and certainly served the purpose. You know, the sport, as I just said, is much, much bigger these days, and that's partly due to the partnership with Fox. But, you know, the show must go on, and ESPN it is. But, yeah, certainly lots of good memories fighting on Fox cards, as you say. I thought, was it Chael Sonnen? Yeah. It was a daylight fucking robbery, is what that was, on Fox 2, I believe. And, yeah, lots of fight nights over the years on FS1. So, yeah, lots of very, very good memories.
And you brought up ESPN. You did bring up ESPN. You're now going to be a commentator. You did the Contender Series, correct? You did some of that. Yeah. Are you looking forward to that, or are you nervous at all, or is it just like business as usual for you?
Yeah, there isn't many things in this life that really get me nervous, you know. So, and I don't mean that to sound cocky. It's just, you know, I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin. So, yeah, I've signed a deal with the UFC for commentating and to continue the desk work as well. So, yeah, I'm very excited about that. Obviously, I fought for a long time. Still being involved with the sport to me means a great deal. You know, this is a sport that, in my mind, I helped build as well. I have my own, certainly have my own little small part to play, and it's been good to me and my family. So to be, well, it's like this. I'm an expert at mixed martial arts. If you ask me a question, mixed martial arts is my subject. Okay, so I'd like to continue to milk that knowledge, so to speak. So yeah, and it's great to be involved with the brand. I mean, the UFC is the #1 mixed martial arts program, without a doubt, and to still be a part of it and still working alongside it, yeah, it's huge.
And we'll look. We're gonna look at this card, the Fox card. It's a big rematch. You obviously.
Don't go too deep.
We'll do the top 2 fights.
We can do the top 4. Yeah.
We'll do the top 4.
Don't go down to the 5 past 3.
Sure. The main event, though, is a rematch. You've obviously been in a lot of rematches, but this is Kevin Lee versus Lee-Iaquinta. Yeah. Kevin Lee said the last time they fought, he wasn't even a man yet. Yeah. Al got lucky that he fought him then. Kevin Lee's been on a run, coming off that stoppage win over Edson Barboza. Says if he wins this, it puts him right up there for the title fight. Lightweight's obviously a different picture with Khabib and Conor doing their whole thing. Sure. But what do you like about this matchup, just as an analyst and as a fan? Yeah,
so obviously there's a rematch, as you say. First fight. Yeah, I think it's fair to say Kevin certainly wasn't in his prime, that's for sure. When you look at those videos, you can see the physical development of Kevin Lee today from then. He certainly looks like a different person. He fights like a different person. His wrestling is fantastic, and his striking's come a long way as well. That said, predominantly the way Kevin Lee fights, he's still looking to take the fight to the floor and use the ground and pound. And, you know, he's got fantastic ground and pound. His fight against Edson Barboza, man, you know, that was vicious, very, very lethal. But Lee-Iaquinta, he's a tough guy. I mean, I like both guys. Don't get me wrong. Kevin Lee's great. He's a good character. I like a lot of things about him. Lee-Iaquinta's great as well. How can you not be a fan of that guy? You fucking boo me. So he's great. And I like the way he fights. Never mind having a cool accent and the way he talks or whatever. He's a good fighter. And he's got great wrestling. I mean, we saw that against Khabib. You know, he did a lot better against Khabib than what Conor did, that's for sure. And to be fair, a lot of people, you know, it was funny at the time, a lot of people were saying, oh, yeah, you know, that was the worst performance of Khabib's career. Well, yeah, because Lee-Iaquinta is a tough guy. Simple as that. Excellent grappling, good jiu-jitsu, good takedown defense, and killer hands. You know, he's put a lot of people to sleep. So I'm looking forward to this fight. I'll save my prediction for the weigh-in show or the pre-fight show, but I think Kevin Lee, he's very confident for a good reason. But don't get too confident. One thing I didn't like that Kevin Lee said, he called Lee-Iaquinta a stepping stone. That's not a good. That's not a good look. You know, I mean, I get it. I like his confidence, but I wouldn't call Lee-Iaquinta a stepping stone for anybody.
And sticking with the co-main event, I think a lot of like the main event obviously has the story, but for like the quote-unquote diehard fans, it's Dan Hooker and Edson Barboza. They didn't work out at the open workouts. People are a little surprised because they would put on a show.
What happened?
They just didn't work out. They put on a bunch of local fighters, Milwaukee guys.
Oh, really?
So Edson and Hooker.
Was that by design?
I think so. So Edson and Dan Hooker kind of flying under the radar. Yeah, Edson's coming off that loss, still one of the most exciting strikers ever. Hooker's doing the opposite of you, where he's going up in weight. He went from featherweight to lightweight, hasn't lost yet, and is knocking people out, submitting them, saying he's scared for his opponents because they're not on his level. Now he gets Edson. What do you make of this fight?
I mean, this is a great fight. I mean, Dan Hooker is on a roll. He looks sensational. He really does. I mean, those knees knocked out Ross Pearson. Who was the other one? Jim Miller. That was vicious. You know, I mean, the guy's on a tear. He really is. I mean, him and that whole camp seemed to be doing something special. So well done to them. Edson Barboza. Finally, we see Edson Barboza in a matchup where he can shine. You know, last two fights, who was it? It was Kevin and Habib. Two guys that aren't going to stand with Edson Barboza. Dan Hooker's going to stand. Unless he's been spending the entire training camp working on his takedowns. And even then, I'm not sold on the Kiwi wrestling. I don't think the New Zealanders are known, with the greatest of respect, much like the English. The English aren't known for being powerhouses in the wrestling department. So don't get offended when I say that the Kiwis aren't. Fucking Israel. He's a sensitive one, that Israel. You say one thing, you give him a compliment, he gets bent out of shape. But this is a great fight. I mean, Edson Barboza, one of the most exciting strikers in the division. Still very, very deadly. Physical specimen, no quit. You know, both of those fights against Khabib and Kevin. But they both stoppages. I know Kevin, the referee stoppage against Kevin in the fifth.
I think
it went the distance.
3 rounds.
Yeah. But it was a tough 3 rounds.
It was like a 30-25.
Yeah, I mean, the point I'm making is that he's tough as hell. There's no quitting him. And on the feet, he's world class. Simple as that. Leg kicks, you name it, you know.
He moved down to ATT for this game.
Oh, he did. I should know this. Okay. It's an exciting fight. I've got to lean towards Edson Barboza simply because he's got the experience in the big fights. But this is a young man's game. I'm not saying Edson's old and he's not going out to pasture, anything like that, but he has got miles on the clock, he has got beatings on the clock, you know. So we'll see. A lot of questions will be answered Saturday night for Edson, you know, because two tough fights like that back-to-back, will it have a physical effect and will it have a mental effect, you know? I don't think it will, but sometimes it can.
And you touched upon him a little bit.
Thanks, Joe.
I have to ask you about Israel Adesanya and Anderson Silva. You brought up Izzy. You've obviously fought Anderson. You were this division's champion for a while. What do you make of this fight? I mean, Israel says it's Jordan versus LeBron. Sure. Anderson says he's been promised a title shot with a win, even though he's coming off. He hasn't fought since he hasn't won since Derek Brunson, win in UFC 208. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this fight.
Yeah, no, I'd love to clarify a few comments. So I was talking on my podcast, Believe You Me, and I said, I'm not sure if I'm totally sold on Israel. And what I meant by that, of course he's a great fighter. Of course he's world class. He's sensational. When I said I don't know if I'm sold, I meant I don't know if I'm sold on him being the future of the division, of him being a long-time champion that will clean out the division. That's what I was talking about. Am I sold on this guy being good? He's clearly good. He's clearly very, very good. But the reason I said that was because Derek Brunson didn't show up in that fight, you know, and Israel did what he needed to do. But Brunson didn't show up. He was terrified. He'd just been knocked out against Jacare. And, of course, Israel has the hype. And rightly fucking so, Israel. Come on, man. Relax. He was terrified. And Israel knocked him out. He did what he needed to do in style. It was beautiful. And anyway, now he's taking on Anderson Silva. You say LeBron versus Jordan. Yeah, it kind of is. I see that comparison. Makes sense. Totally. I mean, Anderson was the greatest of all time. At one time, I don't know. Is that That sentence doesn't even make sense, but you see what I'm saying. There's some asterisks over Anderson Silva, shall we say, but the guy's resume speaks for itself. Regarding the matchup, it's a great matchup, it really is. Both guys have very similar frames, probably Israel a little bit taller. Anderson definitely more experienced, more, you know. We'll see what happens, because the fact that Dana... Oh, it is, it's 3... Oh, that's right, it is, yeah. It's interesting because Dana has given... This is why Israel should be a little concerned. Now, I know that he is not taking him lightly. I heard an interview that he did, and he was very respectful, and he said, listen, it's still the Spider. He's still capable of taking anybody out. He's right in his assessment where he says that Anderson probably, you know, his best days are probably behind him, but he's still capable of winning fights. His fight against Derek Brunson, he didn't show up at all. Even though he still won, similar type thing, he didn't show up for that fight. The fact that Dana has guaranteed a title shot to Anderson Silva, that's going to light a rocket up his ass. Because if there's one thing that can, you know, people can forget about all the steroids and whatever, if he can come back and win the title at his age, that would just be incredible. So if there's one thing that's going to get you motivated if you're Anderson Silva, it's that. So expect a motivated Anderson Silva, which is a very dangerous thing. And Israel Adesanya, listen, he's awesome. You've got tons of hype behind you, Israel. You're very, very good. Not talking shit. Come on.
And sticking with another one of your opponents, George St. Pierre said this week that the fight against Anderson means nothing to him now. There's nothing to gain from it. Yeah. Anderson obviously says, George, you should want to test yourself as a martial artist. What do you think about it? Like, do you think George should fight Anderson? It's still a fight fans want.
Wasn't Anderson Silva calling out Conor McGregor?
Yes.
Right? I rest my case. That's it. That's all I need to say. Get a grip, Anderson. Right? We all know you were taking steroids, and now you're calling out 145ers. My word. You know, come on. At least George... He was talking shit about George. You know, George has always took on great challenges. He came after me. I was injured on the night, but whatever. God bless him. No, listen, you can't talk shit about another great like that. They're both greats in the sport. They both command a lot of respect. I just didn't understand that when Anderson did that. And, of course, the easy response to that is that Anderson's calling out 145ers or people that fought at 145 at one point. Which is isn't conducive to being the greatest of all time and looking for hard challenges when you're berating another great of all time. You know what I mean? So that, you know, yeah, it's kind of petty.
And we'll end it with this: any itch to get back in there? Even, I mean, you saw Chuck and Tito get back in there. You don't. Yeah. I see your reaction says it all.
Yeah, seeing Chuck get back in there, God bless him, it doesn't motivate me to get back in there. Not that I'm Chuck Liddell, you know, I only retired 6 months ago. I've had bigger layoffs when I was fighting. No wish to get in there at all. You know, life is going well. I enjoyed fighting. It was a great part of my life. It set me up for the next phase of my life. But, you know, you got to know, you know, it is what it is. It's done. It's done. I can't do it anymore, you know. Life is good. I've got a lot of things going on. My company, Playline.com, is blowing up massively. Podcast is doing well. Working for the UFC, commentating and stuff, and other things going on as well. Life is good. Life is good. So, no.
Well, we'll finish it up with there. Thank you for the time, Mike, and enjoy the fights tomorrow or Saturday.
Yeah. Thank you.
Golden.
Good job.